I've tested over a dozen of this year's latest and greatest smartphones, but none of them have won my heart like the LG V10. Sure, the V10 isn't as sexy as the latest Samsung Galaxy series nor the Apple iPhone. Heck, even HTC is still pumping out prettier devices. But at the end of the day, functionality and raw performance is what matters most. And in my book, the V10 takes the cake. Now, I don't want to give the impression that the LG V10 doesn't look nice or isn't well built, because it is. It's certainly LG's most premium feeling handset, and the stainless steel rails that run along the side and rubberized plastic that doesn't creak or feel cheap makes the phone feel ultra premium, something that LG's previous phones haven't always been able to pull off. Now, the phone feels great in the hand with the perfect amount of grip and texture. And I also love that that same material on the back is also on the front. So not only does it look unique and different, but it actually reduces the fingerprints and adds rigidity because not the whole phone or the whole front of the phone is glass. LG has actually bragged about the durability of the V10 by giving it a military drop-spec rating, so it can totally handle normal drops just fine. Now, I accidentally dropped it once when I tripped down the stairs. Yeah, I'm that guy. And the phone tumbled down several stairs, landing face down at the bottom. I was sure that it was going to be broken, and the metal rails did take a little damage, but the phone was perfectly fine, and I was really actually pretty surprised. I'm sure that my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus or iPhone would have been destroyed in a similar scenario. Now, one thing worth noting is a lot of people aren't going to like this, and that's the sheer size of the LG V10. This thing is pretty huge. Now, I have large hands, so it wasn't too much of a bother for me, but teens and women and men with small hands are going to struggle at gripping this monster. For reference, it's slightly bigger than the iPhone 6s Plus in all dimensions, even weight. But thanks to the rounded back, it actually rests much more stably in the hand, and I didn't feel like I was going to drop it as easily as I do with other 5.7-inch phones. The V10 features a fingerprint sensor in the rear power button, and I actually think that it's marvelously placed because it's not only really fast, but it's in a great place because that's where your hand is. And no, it's not as fast as the Nexus 6P nor the iPhone 6s, but it is speedy and it's crazy reliable. Since it isn't a glossy button, gunk doesn't accumulate there like the iPhone does, and so because of that, it never misreads. It's basically worked every time, and to me, reliability is even more important than speed. Let's talk screens. The LG V10 has got two of them. Now, the main display is an absolutely stunning 5.7-inch 1440p LCD panel. Now, the V10 has phenomenal color accuracy, and it remains really, really vibrant. I'd actually even go so far as to say that it's second only to the stunning Quad HD OLED displays that we see on the latest Samsung phones. So that's the first screen. It's remarkable. But what's up with the second screen? LG's second screen feature is the focus of LG's advertising. And if you're buying the V10 because of the second screen, you're going to be disappointed because it really doesn't do much. Now, you can toggle between favorite or recently used apps and of course favorite contacts, so it's very much like Samsung's Edge feature. And you're given music controls, which is handy, but that's about it. Now, I will admit that I do like how it shows notifications on the second screen rather than the primary display, which not only saves up real estate on the screen, but it also doesn't require you to pull down the notifications tab. Sadly, quick access to contacts and applications is not available when the phone is locked. Now, you're limited to quick toggles and the time, and that's really about it. You can't even view notifications. On top of that, the second screen dims so much when the phone is turned off that you can't even really see it when the phone is locked unless you're in a very, very dim or dark environment. Now, I'm sure the dim screen is an effort to save battery, but the screen is really only useful when the phone is unlocked. And when the phone is unlocked, you would never choose to use the second screen over the main screen because it's further up. It's not, I feel like it's not in the right place. You have to reach way up there, and it's not as powerful as the first screen. And you can do everything on the primary screen faster than you can on the second screen. So I feel like the idea of a second screen maybe has potential, but this isn't it, and it's pretty much a gimmick for marketing. Now, the cameras on the V10 are fantastic. Many photographers have been surprised how well the V10 performs in low light, and they are very pleased with the extensive manual mode options. And now, I'm not a pro photographer, I mostly shot in automatic, but I was equally pleased with the results. Now, colors are excellent, photos were not over-sharpened, nor oversaturated like we kind of see on the Samsung Galaxy series of phones, but images, because of the higher quality optics, remain naturally sharper than they do on the iPhone 6s. So in my opinion, for still images, the V10 is the best phone that you can buy right now. Now, video was a little bit of a different story, and it still is. Originally, we were all pretty underwhelmed by the performance of the V10, but that's because I was running beta software when I received my review unit. However, through a few quick and easy software updates, LG seems to have remedied the issues and video performance is really quite good. My buddy Danny has an excellent video on how to shoot video with the LG V10, and my does it look pretty. Danny's video is linked in the video description if you are interested in watching. Now, LG also heavily markets the front-facing cameras. Yes, cameras. There are two. One of them provides a standard 80-degree lens, but the other provides a much wider and, in my opinion, much better 120-degree view, so you can get rid of your selfie stick. You don't need it. Now, both cameras take great pictures because they're both 5-megapixel sensors, but I honestly found myself leaving it on the wide-angle lens because it just seemed more applicable to more photos in more situations. That could have been the only camera, really, but they opted in for two, and I guess that's cool if you want two cameras. Battery performance has been pretty excellent for a phone with a Quad HD display. I've gotten about 4 hours of on-screen time on average. Most should be able to make it through a day's use without much problem, but if you're a power user and you can't make it through the day, the V10 has a removable battery. I know, right? Removable batteries are like unicorns nowadays, and unicorns are beautiful, and so are removable batteries. Yeah, so the phone also supports quick charge and can charge from 0 to 80% in just a little over a half an hour. So there's that option as well. Oh, and there is micro SD card expansion. Booyah! My absolute favorite part of the LG V10 is the audio performance. No, not the crappy little speaker, which I wish LG would replace with front-facing speakers. No, I'm talking about the audio performance with headphones. The fact of the matter is that people don't really care about high-fidelity audio like they should. People have this idea and conception that they can't hear the difference, but that's not true. People spend money on nice headphones, but they're not powering them properly, and so as a result, they've spent $400 on headphones that don't really sound that great because you're not using the right device nor the right amplification. Now, the LG V10 tries to change this. It has a 32-bit ESS digital to analog converter, and it also has a very capable amp to match. Now, this is the first phone that I've used that can power my Odyssey LCD3s well. The Meizu M8 phone did as well, but that's a Chinese phone. It's kind of hard to get a hold of in the US. I'm talking good performance. The V10 drove my Odyssey LCD3s like nothing, like it was a desktop amp. Imaging and instrument separation are absolutely excellent, and when you're using IEMs, the background is super black without any noise whatsoever. The V10 actually even superseded, in my mind, the FiiO X5 and the Estelle & Kern AK Jr. and many other mid-level DAPs in many instances, and I would go so far as to say most of the time. I absolutely love this phone for listening to music. LG even actually includes a pair of earphones that are tuned by AKG, and so as a result, they sound like everything AKG makes, which is a little bit on the bright side, but I was blown away how good they sounded considering that they were included free with the phone. They actually fare nicely against $50 to $100 earbud competition, so it was really, really exciting to see that. In the first video, I kind of bagged on LG software, and I actually got a lot of hate for it. Sorry, LG fanboys. So I went back, per your request, and tried the LG launcher again, and I will admit that it is very feature-packed and very functional. I actually like the way that it performs, but I still prefer using the Nova launcher because it's what I'm used to and because of the aesthetic improvements. But do you know what? That's the beauty of Android. You can make it absolutely however you like. Now, the phone rocks a Snapdragon 808 processor, which I think was a great idea. People are already calling this processor old and weak, but I totally disagree. It's very competent, it never feels laggy, and it also attributes to the good battery life. And that's why I love this phone so much. And you look at other phones that have the Snapdragon 810, the Exynos processors, good battery life cannot be said about those phones. So the fact that the 808 is in here is great. Gaming performance was excellent. I never felt like the phone was slow. And it has a whopping 4 gigabytes of RAM, which makes this thing a multitasking beast. I mean, apps that I opened hours ago were immediately on tap. That was really, really nice. The V10 is actually probably the fastest phone I'll say that with an asterisk. It's one of the fastest phones that I've ever used, despite its slightly older processor. Okay, so my last nit to pick is pretty nerdy, and it's that the DPI on LG phones is always way too high. Text, icons, everything looks too large. It's like using a grandma phone. I can read it from a mile away. Now, usually, you can change the DPI easily without rooting through ADB. Sadly, because of the second screen, when I tried to change the DPI, the phone just crashed and entered a boot loop. Now, I'm sure there will be roots and workarounds eventually, but if you plan to buy this phone right out of the gates, right now, on week 1, be prepared to enjoy a massive 640 DPI. You can read it from across the room, the text is so big. All in all, the LG V10 is built like a tank. It packs the best smartphone camera on the market, it multitasks like a beast, and it is the audiophile's dream. There is very little to complain about this phone, and I recommend the V10 to anyone who's slightly interested in it. It may not be the sexiest phone of 2015, but it's certainly one of the best. You'll love it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.